Hi, I'm Rachel Whitefield, certified life coach, and with me is our resident political pontificator, Jackie Black. Thank you for joining us on another fabulous episode of Whiskey Bent
Spellbound with Black.
and Whitefield.
Yes, let's do this. What are we drinking?
Oh, Jackie, I am so glad you asked. Today, once again, I am drinking Castle and Key Restoration Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey. So this has aroma of lemon peel, apricot, toast, and floral. And then it finishes with something a little more juicy, fruity, and a little white pepper. So it's a little spicy on the tannic finish.
But
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I am having Virginia Distillery Company cider cask finished whiskey. This is a marriage of Scotch malt whiskey and American whiskey, and it's finished in cider casks, which I found very interesting. Look how light it is. And I actually have my dram of whiskey from Scotland, very similar in color. So
Yes.
that's super, super interesting how light it is. But as far as like the way it tastes, right on the nose, you're gonna smell like very, very like vanilla. It's got like an apple, very like crisp
I think it's
apple
cider
and
finish.
pear. Yeah, exactly. Cider obviously. And then when you taste it, it's very creamy, very soft. And it just kind of it's caramelized from like those wood sugars from
Hmm.
finishing in that type of cask. Um, really a nice, like smooth, not very tannicky whiskey. I like to sip it over ice,
Hmm.
but I have a little bit of ginger ale to finish it off because I just, I love a whiskey ginger.
Oh,
And then
you
of course
do.
a little bit of magical 24 karat gold,
24 karat
fancy
magic.
sprinkles. I have a question though.
Yeah.
Do you have ice molds
I
today?
do have ice molds today. Rachel, the ADHD did not overtake my entire life. So I made these last night instead of
Okay.
panic making them this morning. So have a win for the day. But I know we have a very feminist leaning feminine podcast today. So I made the roses with
There's
they're very large. There's very dense ice mold with the rose gold luster powder from Fancy Sprinkles. So I just have a metallic pink flower in my whiskey today in my whiskey glass. So I know I always like to show off my ice molds before I pour a little whiskey over. So
uh
mm,
I love those ice
I
molds
do.
though. I love
They're
the
so
rose with the
beautiful.
rose gold luster powder. I think it's so gorgeous. Ooh, yours is very beautiful. Look at mine. Also
Yes, with that dark,
beautiful.
rich color from Restoration and Castle and Key. It just, ooh, it's that rose
I love
gold.
it.
We just love it. Oh, clinkies.
Clinkies.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I can taste that
Well,
honey, lemon, that stone fruit. Mm.
yeah, there's not a lot of tannic shock to this, like the
Mm-hmm.
taste wise. It doesn't give you that like bodily shiver. It just is very smooth. It's got a little bit of sweetness to it. I did have a little bit just of the straight over ice, but I'm gonna add some ginge because I I don't need to be drinking that much. Some ginger. Cut
We've
it
got
with
work
the
to do
ginge.
today.
We've got important facts to share with our listeners.
We do. So, without further ado, Jackie, will you please take it away today? What are we talking about?
Yeah, we're going to talk about what everybody, all the ladies, specifically, it feels like we're talking about Joe Biden stepping down. And we're talking about how he endorsed Kamala Harris. Now, this episode is really about giving our listeners who do support Kamala Harris talking points to talk to people who are maybe undecided or kind of on the fence about maybe voting conservative. Um, So we're going to just talk about all of her accomplishments so that you can have lots of positive things to say about her if you support her and you kind of don't really know where to go. But I'm so happy that Joe Biden stepped down. I think that he really did it. He had a poor showing at that debate. And so he really, I was nervous that he wasn't going to step down. I thought it was a power grab if he didn't, and I
Um,
genuinely wasn't going to vote.
let's
So,
change our verbiage here a little bit. Joe Biden is still
yeah.
currently the 46th president of the United States. He has not
Right,
stepped
right,
down
right.
from power or stepped back or resigned. So he has
Right.
just withdrawn from the Democratic as a Democrat and the political
Nominee.
presidential race. Yes. So
Right.
he has withdrawn from the presidential race and has endorsed VP, Madam Vice President Kamala Harris.
That is correct. Have I ever told you about the time my sister, the Green Gots Goblin, met Joe Biden?
No.
Oh, okay. So, okay. It's a really funny story because you know how, like, the talking point for Joe Biden is that he is a little bit creepy and that he like gets very close to people and he's like always whispering and talking in their ear, whatever.
Hmm.
Well, the thing is that he sort of did that to my sister
Okay.
at a campaign rally.
Okay.
After the rally, the politicians typically go to the crowd to that front barrier and meet people while they're walking through the crowd. Um, this time, my sister, she lived in Vegas when he was speaking with Obama, and she went to the campaign rally. Um, well, she was standing at the gate, and he comes up to her and he goes, "Is this your mom?" And she goes, "Yeah." And he grabs her, side hug, and gets in her ear and he says, "You take care of your mama."
Hmm.
Points at my, "You take care of your mama." So yeah, he is weird for, whispering in people's ear, but he's being a grandpa. He's such a grandpa and he's got just grandpa vibes. And I
Hmm.
have no problem with his grandpa vibes. You know what I'm saying? But I do agree that it was time for him to step back out of the presidential race. And if you could not tell, uh Whiskey Bent and Spellbound are officially endorsing Kamala Harris for president. And so that's what
Absolutely.
this episode is going to be about. I'm super excited to talk to our audience about what she has to offer and what she's done for the
And
country in her previous positions.
and before we jump into it, I just want to say that I really think Joe Biden, politics aside, love him or hate him, that is not what this is about. But the fact that he did have the wherewithal
Yeah,
to say, hey, I'm not what is best for the country right now. And I think
yeah,
a lot of politicians or people view one term presidents as kind of a failure. But the
yeah,
fact that he does have the wherewithal to say, hey, I am not what is in the best interest of the American people, all of us,
right,
no matter who you are, to
right.
say, hey, like they are right. And I'm not just going to cling to power for the sake of clinging to power. So I really think he really, in that moment, epitomized the great American experiment and the
Mm-hmm.
peaceful transfer of power. And if he wanted to make a woman president, he could have given it to her, but he didn't. He didn't step down. He just says, I'm not going to run again. So I'm going to give
Right.
it to the next generation of people to go take it and go do something great with this great American experiment. So the fact that he did put America first in his decisions really to me speaks volume to the character of who this person as president is.
Agree.
Don't think
Agree.
everyone would do that.
No.
Hmm.
Definitely not who Republicans have chosen
Hmm.
for their candidate. So, I guess
So
we can
yeah,
start from the top of what's happened since he has turned over the position of running for president
yes.
to
During recording right now, it has been about a week since he has said he would not run and has endorsed Kamala for president. So we've done a lot of research, but also what has happened in the last week, Jackie?
Yeah. So within the first 24 hours, Alpha Kappa Alpha holds a Zoom. They hold it for all Black women, but it's Alpha Kappa Alpha who have organized it. And over 40,000 Black women attend this Zoom, and they raise $1.5 million in like I think like 30-minute time period, not very long.
Mm-hmm.
They take to TikTok, they take to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all social media, and they call on not only the rest of the women in America, but specifically white women
Mm-hmm.
to attend these Zoom meetings and start fundraising. And I feel like women of all races really heard the call. And there was just Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting, Latinas for Harris, Indian Americans for Harris, Asian Americans for Harris, and white women for Harris. There's even been Black men for Harris and white men for Harris. And
Mm-hmm.
I am so proud to say in the first 24 hours of this endorsement, Harris for president had raised $81 million. By
Wow.
Wednesday of last week, the super PAC Future Forward raised $150 million. And as of this recording, she has raised $200 million on top of that. So it's super, super exciting. Act Blue saw a record number of signups to volunteer for the campaign. 28,000 people, individual new accounts, signed up to not only donate in small donations,
Mm-hmm.
but also volunteer for the campaign. We're talking door knocking, social media posts, and phone calls to those unregistered voters. Since women across the country have been falling in line behind the example that the Alpha Kappa Alpha and the Black women of that initial Zoom meeting, the momentum on social media has been so freaking invigorating, dude. And I just see a parallel, I don't know, maybe like a cause and effect. I don't know how to put it. I'm sure you would, but like ever since the Barbie movie came out, maybe even a little bit before that, I feel like women have been galvanized and they've come to this consensus. And I put this on my social media. We've sort of come to this consensus that we're really tired of the bar being in hell. And we mean that for everything. We're tired of the bar being in hell for who can run for president,
Mm-hmm.
who is in political office. We're tired of the bar being in hell for that. But we're also tired of men failing up. I think that that's such an important thing that we've all been talking about. Female gossip has really changed the game, I think, in this political era.
I'm not here to call it gossip. I'm here to call it speaking our truths.
I'm here to call it empowerment,
Mm-hmm.
quite
Mm-hmm.
frankly. Like
Yeah.
it really has been empowering us. So it's clear she's going to be the official candidate for the Democratic Party.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't become official until the DNC, but like there is a huge momentum behind her. And it's not only women across America as a majority, but it's also a lot of people who weren't going to vote. And then she announced her candidacy and now they're voting. Now they're making sure they're registered. So I'm excited about that.
And if I may, before we jump into all of her many accomplishments, I just want to say, you know, the last election, like I voted for Joe Biden, but this year it was more of like, oh, I feel like it's more of a vote against Trump versus a vote for Joe Biden. We know what a second Trump presidency will give us. We have already gone through it once. And like I said, we're not going back. But now it feels like I feel so invigorated. I am just like, ooh, not only am I voting against Trump, I am happily and enthusiastically going to vote for Kamala Harris.
Right.
Again, anyone can be in that Republican nomination at this point. It doesn't matter. I'm like, ooh, I get to vote for her. And not
Right.
just because she's a woman. That's not what this is about. She is accomplished and she like, and we'll get into that, but it's like, ooh, I feel so invigorated instead of like passively
Yeah.
voting. I get to
Yeah.
actively choose.
Yeah.
And that feels really good for the
Oh
first time
man.
in a really long while.
You know what? For the first time in a really long time, I don't feel scared or worried about the future of our country. And that's almost a little bit worrisome. Like, what?
I
I can
feel
feel calm.
hopeful. I feel hopeful and that
I do
feels
too.
weird.
It's weird. It's weird to feel hopeful and genuinely proud of our country and proud to vote for her. I haven't felt proud of our country in a very long time.
Same.
I felt like get me the fuck out of here. I need to marry a man in Europe somewhere so I can get dual citizenship and leave and never come back. But
Mhm.
now I'm like, nah, I'm ready to stay and I'm ready to fight. And like, y'all can, you're over my dead body. Are you going to stop me from voting in this election? I'm ready to go. I'm so ready to go, Rachel, that I'm one of the 26,000 that signed up for the very first time. And I not only donated, first donation ever,
Mhm.
but I also signed up to volunteer for the campaign in a couple towns over. The Democratic National Party has a office, so I signed up to work in the office, volunteer status only, as well as post on social media. So if you are one of my followers, get ready because I'm not going to shut the fuck up. I'm not shutting up.
Mm-mm.
I'm done shutting up. I'm done being afraid of causing controversy. I'm ready to stand up not only for this amazing, accomplished woman who deserves to be in this office, who is qualified to be in this office, but I'm ready to stand up for women and our rights and be loud about it. And nobody is going to shut me up. Like this is a turning point in how I operate. And I'm fearless about it. I'm ready to go.
Abso-fucking-lutely. And I just want to say, as like JD Vance was kind of shitting all over, childless cat women, you do have children. I do not, but I was like, you are a single cat lady at the
I am
moment,
a
And it's very much like, you know what? Don't forget the childless dog ladies. I'm coming in with you. I get a puppy on Friday, and
I know that's right.
I am a child-free woman. And I was like, this child-free woman, dog mom is coming with all you cat ladies. Ride or die, we ride at dawn.
I know that's fucking right. And I've always been like the one of the things that the Black women said is like, we don't want allies anymore. We want accomplices.
Yes.
And I've always been the bitch that my friends call to bury the body. And when she said we want accomplishments, that really spoke to me.
Like,
Accomplices, that really
yeah.
spoke to me. Like, I'm absolutely going to be your accomplice. The fact is that I've loved Black women for my entire life. I appreciate everything about them. I defer to them to the point that my therapist, whenever I go to therapy, is a Black woman. I will see nobody else besides a Black woman. I don't give a shit how that sounds. I defer to them. So I'm
They are.
ready. I'm ready. I've been saying for years, and you know this, I have been saying for years, we need a Black woman in office. And the fact that she is a highly accomplished former prosecutor, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go to the mat.
Well, I think you should fill me in and all of us for our audience if we don't already
Yeah.
know about the amazing accomplishments that Kamala Harris has, in fact, accomplished in her very decade-spanning career. So
Yeah,
take it away,
absolutely.
Jacqueline. I'm ready.
Here we go. All right. So we'll just start. Where is she from? Who is Kamala? Kamala is the daughter of two immigrants, which America is founded on immigrants.
Mhm.
So this is extremely important, especially since the Republican candidate for office does not think immigrants should hold office. So Kamala's mom immigrated to the US from India to study science at UC Berkeley, a genius.
Mm-hmm.
Her father immigrated to the States from Jamaica, and he's a scholar who taught economics at Stanford, a genius. Um, the thing about Kamala is that after integration, they had this system called busing, and they would bus Black children to white schools. It was traumatic for a lot of those Black students. She was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
As far as her education goes, she went to Howard University and she studied economics and political science. That's a dual major at an HBCU. She's also part of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. And for those who don't know about the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, they are part of the Divine Nine. There are 9 HBCU sororities across the country, and they form what they call the Divine Nine, and they are an influence and power. They get together, they decide, they make big decisions on what happens in politics as far as like Black life, all of that. I have nothing but respect for Alpha Kappa Alpha girls. If you've never had an Alpha Kappa Alpha in your life, you are missing out. Not only are they beautiful and powerful, but they are also super smart and super supportive of their sisters and the women that they have in their life. Cannot say enough good things about them. She went to UC California Hastings in San Francisco for law school. And she was president of the Black Law Students Association. So she's already been president. She already knows how to run things, not of the United States, but she knows how to run an organization. She knows how to be in charge.
Yes, to
So
listen to people and to take those notes and say, okay, what is best overall for the
exactly.
organization? Yes.
Exactly. Let's see. After passing the bar in 1990,
Mhm.
she joined the Alameda prosecutor's office, which I personally love because I lived there. I lived in Alameda. That's in Oakland, and she was the assistant district attorney, and she focused on sex crimes. She moved up pretty quickly in the ranks because you move up quickly when you're really good at your job. Period. So she moved up to district attorney. And as district attorney, she cracked down on teenage prostitution. And by that, I mean she reoriented law enforcement's approach to focus on teenage prostitutes as victims. She turned the page on these are criminals to these are victims of sex trafficking.
Yes.
And I mean, by doing so, she probably saved thousands of lives from being, girls being thrown in prison. The recidivism she decreased. Like this to me is so important because sex trafficking is so serious and prevalent in our country. So for her to look at these girls and instead prosecute them, she was like, no, these are victims.
And to also look for upstream solutions, because when you say teenage prostitution, I was like, you mean a sex trafficked minor? Because that's what it
That
is.
part.
There are
That's
no child
exactly what it
prostitutes,
is. They are
so
not. They don't go into this like, oh, I want to be a prostitute. These are victims.
yes. And to
But
see where the true problem lies in upstream, like, hey, they aren't the problem here.
exactly. Let's see what else. As district attorney, Harris, I mean, just to piggyback off what you just said,
Mhm.
she drew praise for her progressiveness. She implemented a program that helped young people who were arrested for nonviolent crimes get job training, substance abuse treatment, and housing. And later she becomes attorney general, and this like leads into that. She launches bias training for the state police officers. So she really focuses on ending the recidivism in her state, in a country with the highest incarcerated population. She's
Mm-hmm.
like, we can't keep locking these people up. We have to find solutions so that they become productive members of society. And when you stop the recidivism and you get these people to become productive members of society, they pay taxes, and taxes pay for social programs, which everybody benefits from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know she made kind of training programs for nonviolent first offenders to give them work training. So and nonviolent offenders for like drug crimes and stuff. So it's like at
Right.
that point, you can be like, oh, you do have a life skill. We do believe in you.
Yeah.
You are worth something.
Yeah. It's like you didn't have a victim. Your own self is the victim. We need to
Mhm.
give you something else so that you can be a productive member of society.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important. Like that is crazy work.
Yeah. And we
Crazy work.
know not everyone is perfect, but it's just like, hey, this will help you get back on track instead of just going through like the like again, active recidivism to just go back into prison because you don't have any options on the outside.
Yeah, exactly. And let's like make very clear, recidivism costs taxpayers money, taxpayer money.
Yes.
Decreasing recidivism increases taxes going into the pot, which is good for everybody.
Yes.
So, all right. So she's a badass. Everybody in California notices. She runs for state attorney general and she wins. This is an elected office.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is super important. She was the San Francisco DA, of course, first person of color, and then she gets elected to the attorney general. But by the time she gets elected, violent crime is down 7%. Murder is down 43%. Burglary is down 27%. And aggravated assault is down 15%. These are the numbers that you guys need to write down. These are important. These are accomplishments. I'm getting chills thinking about how effective she was.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So,
When people say, do your own homework, find your own facts, it's like, these are the facts. By the end of her term, let me say it again, because I know you just grabbed your pen. Violent crime down 7%. In the state of California, which is the fifth largest economy globally, she
globally,
was the top cop for the fifth largest economic power in the world. Murder down 7%, or violent crime down 7%, murder down 43%, burglary down 27%, aggravated assault down 15% by the end of her term as Attorney General of the state of California.
huge.
Mm-hmm.
Huge. So she gets elected as attorney general and she continues her work to decriminalize sex workers. Like she doesn't want to criminalize them.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to rehabilitate them. So she continues that work. She continues to help the first time offenders get back on track instead of incarcerating them. But at this time, she meets her husband, Doug Harris.
Doug
And is that his
Imhoff.
last name?
No,
Is his
his name is Doug Imhoff.
Imhoff? I was like,
She did
did
not
she
change her
take?
name.
I love that for her. My bad, you guys. Doug Imhoff, and I bet he goes by Doug Harris.
But here's the thing, she got
He
married
should.
at 49 years old. She is established in her career as Kamala Harris, as she should be. And I know as women get married later in their lives, like, oh, do I still want the same last name as my kids? Do I still really want to change my name? So she never did because she is Kamala Harris, who is
I love it.
married to Doug Imhoff.
Yeah. No, Doug Imhoff is Doug is married to Kamala. And he is
We love him.
the goodest man. I
He
just
is.
want to just fangirl all over Doug right now. Like he is so supportive. He's like, that's my wife. She's a badass. And he like,
And
you just see him in the media and you're just like, he's a golden retriever man. And she won a husband lottery.
and
Like, fuck
I
yeah.
absolutely, and I love that we always say go get your education, like do not put a man
Yes.
first, like go put
Yes.
yourself first, go get your education, go get something that can never leave you, go earn something that they can never take away from you. We're not saying
Yes.
don't fall in love, we're saying put yourself first. And so
Yes.
she got married for the first and only time at 49 years old. And one, she had great choosing power because she had put herself first. She had been very accomplished in her own right, that at that point she can marry for love and not for economic gain because she's already done it all herself. And so she
Yes.
gets to choose. And so at 49, she gets married. Yes.
Badass.
Yes.
I just love this story because I think it's super important for women to have women to look up to.
Hmm.
And their marriage is so good. It's so good. Not to lessen his accomplishments. He's an amazing accomplished man as well.
Hmm.
But because she put herself first, she's in a really supportive, loving, happy marriage. And she's got some stepkids who call her Momala.
Yes. So I did a little bit of this research and I remember hearing a speech she did where she was just saying how, as because Doug is divorced and he does have children from his first marriage, two children, I believe. And, you know, they love their mother, their birth mom.
Yeah.
And they say, we still want to call her mom, but, Kamala seems too like, oh, it's too sterile. Why do we want, like, we want to, you're our mom too, like you're our bonus mom, you're like so great. And so then they decided to be like, oh, like, I love little nicknames, I give everyone little nicknames, but they
Yeah.
decided
Yeah.
to call her Momala. And so, and they're like, Momala, like Momala made us dinner or what have you. So it's just like, I think it really speaks to her devotion to her family, her chosen family, for
Yeah.
it to be a blended family, and to know that she loves those children as her own, and to have the support of the mom, the ex-wife, to be like, we are a trio of parents. They get three in this situation now. And the fact that it's like, she backs Kamala. She knows she has a good heart. She knows she's a good mom
Word.
and she's a badass at work too. So yes, so now they're just like Kamala is Momala.
I
And I
love
just
it.
thought that was the sweetest nickname. And for the kids to choose to give that to her when
It
they were
it
ready,
speaks. Yeah.
it speaks volumes.
It speaks volumes. And if you're a woman, if you're a stepmom, that tells you a lot about who she is as a person. It really does. The fact that there are the her stepchildren's mom is very much like there's three parents in this situation tells you who Kamala is as a person,
Hmm.
as a human being. I can say that because I'm a mom. I am a mom who is friends with my daughter's stepmom.
Hmm.
I am friends with her because she's great. There's no not liking her. So it like as a mom, I can tell you that the fact that they work as a trio of parents, one, those kids are so loved.
Hmm.
And two, they're very, very lucky. They have so much support and they know that they have three adults who just love the shit out of them. So it really just, I think, speaks volumes of her personality, her character, her integrity.
And it's come out that she's like, oh, she's a childless woman. Like, you can't trust her, whatever. And I was like, I think that, especially as someone who I thought I was going to be a stepmom, I
Yeah.
was in a relationship where I had the potential to be a stepmom, and I was very much looking forward to it. And I think when they act like women without children who are stepmothers or any stepmothers in general, it's like they're slapping us across the face or slapping you. I'm not technically a stepmother.
Right,
No.
right,
You know,
right.
that relationship didn't work out, but it was like, it's just they're slapping all stepmoms across the face and acting like their contributions do not matter because they did not birth these children themselves. So it's like, are you acting like our love is no longer good
Yeah.
because they are
It's
not biological children? Get the fuck out of here.
it's ridiculous.
Hmm.
It's ridiculous. The childless Catwoman thing
Hmm.
is actually infuriating to me because it's like, how are they any less women just because they didn't birth a child? Like that
Well,
doesn't make any sense. And it's such an antiquated ideology.
yes. And I would say the 46 men that came before her also did not birth any children.
I know that's fucking right. I
So
know that's fucking right.
she's on par with them. No president has ever given birth.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly. Okay.
next.
Back on subject. Let's talk
Yes.
more about her accomplishments as the DA.
Yes.
Big, big, big thing. She fought hard for marriage equality,
Yes.
hard in California.
Mhm.
I think California was the second state. It was like, I think it was Massachusetts and then California as far as
Yeah.
like legal
So
gay marriage,
Prop
right?
8 was to protect quote unquote marriage as like
Yeah.
between a man and a woman. So like F Prop 8. And so she fought
Right.
against Prop 8, which was for the way they word these things to make it so confusing for the voters.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yes.
she fought against Proposition 8 for marriage equality for all for the state of California.
Right.
Love is
And
love.
so when that occurred, I like the city officials were
Mhm.
taking their fucking time awarding marriage certificates. I watched a video of
Mhm.
Kamala as the attorney general standing in a group of people. A man walks up to her and says, "This city official is not allowing marriages." She said, "Let me talk to him." Grabs the phone, says, "This is Kamala Harris, your attorney general. You will allow these marriages to go through. You will sign those marriage certificates, and you're going to love it. This is going to be great." And then they say, "Yes, ma'am." And she hands the phone back. It was, oh, it was such a power move.
Yeah.
Such a power move. I love it so much. She focused on school truancy. She improved DNA testing like to help the backlog at the let me tell you about the backlog in California on in the crime labs on the rape test kits.
Mhm.
Okay. It was a huge problem in the 90s. I'm talking years long of backlog. She made sure that the DNA testing and that process was improved so that there was no backlog. She caught up on all of it, and now they don't have one. This is huge because rapes were not getting prosecuted in this state because of this backlog.
Mhm.
So by improving this process, she ensured those rapists, those violent mother effers, went to jail. Love it so much. She What else? Her office wrote the manual on implicit bias training for police,
Mhm.
and she supported the use of body cameras. So, like, I
For
know,
police, yeah.
yeah, for police. I know that there has been a lot of drama around police use of force because they really are so militarized, and it's almost like scary to call the police, especially for people of color, because you don't know if you are going to die. as the person of color calling the police.
Yes.
Sonia Massey recently lost her life because she called police because she thought there was going to be she saw somebody like looking in her windows and she lost her life.
Yeah.
But
Thank God for body camera footage.
thank God for body cameras, because the police officer that took her life has now lost his job and is in jail for murder.
Yes.
So while it wasn't an instant fix, it is something. Those body cameras are something to create a solution to police violence, especially against people of color.
Yeah. And again, like I said before, like California is the fifth largest economy in the world. It'd be the fifth largest country, GDP. So it's like, oh, she was the top cop for the fifth largest economic power in the country. That's no mean feat, you know? And it's like also people know where California goes, the country follows.
Word.
So she was setting the precedent for she's leading the way for to make it easier for other states to follow suit for initiatives that are beneficial for the people.
Yes. Her leadership was monumental. Monumental. She made such amazing changes in California while I lived there that it made it safer for people to live. It made it just was better when she was the state attorney general. But she garnered a reputation, a positive reputation that led her into the Senate. But before she did that, she took on predatory for-profit colleges. And let's talk about for-profit colleges. There's one that was taken down recently. Trump University those on and secured a what is it? A $1.1 billion judgment, billion with a B, against a for-profit college called Corinthian Colleges for misleading students. They were not accredited, just like Trump University was not accredited. So they had to pay $1.1 billion to their students because of Kamala Harris.
Corinthian colleges.
Exactly. Specifically. I wish somebody would. I don't even know if somebody's taken on Trump University. I should look into that.
I know
so
it's
that I
defunct.
can be more mad about that. Yeah, it's disgusting. So, what else? Okay, so also as Attorney General, there was a lot of foreclosures during that 2008 housing crisis. A lot. I think this is her signature achievement as Attorney General. She won a $1.1 billion judgment. I'm sorry. I'm reading the wrong thing. $20 billion. I'm on the wrong line of notes. That's way more than 1.1. 20 billion. Again, with a B, because she is a bad bitch. $billion following the 2008 foreclosure crisis against these banks for misleading lenders. So when she was elected, she was the very first African American and the first woman AG of California. And she kicked ass, Barbara Boxer, who was an amazing senator for California. But she was like, you're what California needs as a senator. So she ran for Senate. As senator, she's the way this, I'm going to get emotional here because she has been the first so many times. And because of that, she's broken so many glass ceilings, just shattered them so that young Black and American Indian girls can see that they can do it too. And the way seeing something allows you to believe it can happen for you is so important. I'm just like so proud of her. Like as a Californian, like we're Californians born and
Yep.
raised.
Yep.
I'm just so proud of her for being the first so many times and breaking open that glass ceiling so that so many women can come after her.
And what I loved is that her mom told her, Kamala, you will be the first many times, but make sure that you are not the last. And I
Oh my
think
God,
she
dude.
turns around and she reaches her hand out and she says, come with me. And we
Yeah,
love a come with me type of woman.
that's right. Because you say, what about going up the mountains?
I say, if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, we go together.
I know that's fucking right.
And I'm in the
I know. Ooh,
business
I
of
got chills
going far
again.
together. Me too. I have chills. I have chills. Ooh, chill.
I love that. I fucking love it. I'm so fucking amped. Anyways, okay. Back on topic. Barbara Boxer. She sees Kamala and Kamala is kicking ass. So Barbara is like, you gotta go to Senate. Like, you gotta be my successor. She gets elected easily. There's zero chance of winning against this woman because she has made California a better and safer place to live.
Mm-hmm.
She becomes the first Indian American senator of California and I'm sorry, in America,
Mm-hmm.
the first Indian American woman to serve as senator and the second Black woman. So badass. So a lot of people online, especially in my comments, they say, name what she has done. Name what she has done. So, besides some of those points that I mentioned just at the state level, let's talk about the federal level and what she has done
As a senator.
because it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Even though she only served 2 years, that alone should speak to her prowess.
Mm-hmm.
2 years as senator, and she made it now she's vice president.
And now she ran for president. So she felt
Yes,
like
she
I have
did.
enough experience. I know how to do this.
Yeah, and she really does. She really does. Her career, her resume speaks for itself. It really does. So, as senator, she worked on keeping American people safe from foreign threats and crafted bipartisan legislation to assist in securing American elections while serving on the Senate Select Committee
Mm-hmm.
on Intelligence. So her big thing was like we have to make sure that our elections remain legal and fair across the country. So while serving on the Senate Select Committee, she reached across the aisle. Big, big, big thing. She reached across the aisle and said, we have to ensure the security of American elections. And she did so by crafting that legislation. She also served on the Judicial Committee, which questioned Jeff Sessions, the attorney general at the time, who was testifying before the Intelligence Committee on the alleged Russian interference in the 2016 presidential elections. And let me tell you something, her prosecutorial style of questioning was insane. It would scare me if she was questioning me, dude.
What
She just listens actively and picks up on shit that people say and just goes in on
I
people.
feel like she would just let someone give them just like, oh, she's gonna give you enough rope to hang yourself.
That and she's
I'm gonna let
good
you
at
keep
it.
digging. Yeah. She's just
She's
and she's so like nice about it as well, where she just asks her questions and she's like, okay, I got you. You know, oh, I love it. Oh,
oh, it just gave me chills when she was like, I genuinely would be so scared to be questioned by her. The way she understands, she is actively listening to people, letting, just like you said, letting them giving them all of the rope and then letting them hang themselves and pointing it out immediately is such a talent that I don't think enough people acknowledge. That ability to actively listen and then use it almost against them because they're saying things that most people wouldn't pick up on, but she does. The
And
talent is unequivocal.
and what really gets me is that she brings things to the forefront of my mind that I wouldn't never really consider because that's the way things always have been. Like when
Right.
she was as a senator, when she was questioning um nominee Brett Kavanaugh for like the Supreme Court, when she says, "Can you think of any law or legislation that regulate a man's body?" And he fumbled and she's like, "I will
He
ask it
couldn't
again.
answer.
Are there any laws that you are aware of that regulate a man's body?" And he was like, "None to my recollection." I was like, "Well, you're nominee to Supreme Court. You should be familiar with the laws, which means there are none." And then you kind of realize, oh, wow, then why are there for mine? And if Republicans are the freedom party of freedom, quote unquote, it's like,
Right.
you should be giving more people freedom and more personal liberty
Right.
instead of trying to take it away. So it's just like, yeah, my body is regulated, but if you want less regulation, less everything, then you shouldn't put more restrictions on the citizens of
Government,
the liberty of the United
government
States.
restrictions. Why the
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
a whole other
So
subject, and
that
we'll
is a
definitely
episode for
talk
another day.
about it.
But I love that for the very simple question, she just took him to task. She's
She
not
really
asking how
did.
he feels about it, just
Right.
are there any laws on the books that you are aware of? And I was like,
Right.
oh, my horizons are broadened right here in this moment.
Right. She did open my eyes a lot during that questioning. She was just phenomenal. I have no other word but phenomenal during that. She is a prosecutor with no equal at this point in my eyes.
Mhm.
So again, like we said, she didn't have a ton of time as senator because she was like, I'm ready. I'm going to run for vice president, or I'm going to run for president first.
Mhm.
And she didn't, of course, she didn't get the votes that she wanted. There was Biden, and he was the favorite at the time. And I get it because he was Obama's vice president, and we love Obama.
Yeah, and
Obama voters loved him as vice president.
everyone really wanted him to run, but his son had
Right.
died, and I think he wanted that moment to grieve. And then he was like, "All right, I'm ready to get back in there and come swinging." So we gave
Right.
Biden his due, you know.
Right. Exactly. And this is not to say I haven't loved his presidency. I think he's a great man. The story that I told at the top of the show, I genuinely know. I feel like just that interaction with my sister told me who he was as a person, and I felt like I could trust him. But
Mhm.
she's ready to run for president. She does not get the nomination, but Biden names her as his vice president. And I think that really rallied the American people, especially women, and especially women of color, behind Biden. And I think that changed the game. She's the first Black and South Asian person to appear on a major party ticket in history. So
Mhm.
again, the first, again, shattering a glass ceiling, again, representing women across the country. And her debate against Mike Pence was
Mhm.
monumental. When she said, Mr. Vice President, I am talking, I'm talking,
I'm speaking. Yeah.
I'm
Oof.
speaking. Oh, God. Oh,
Ah,
my God. She gave me the biggest lady boner I've ever had in my
yes.
life.
Yes. Oh, yes. Just the
Just,
simple power of it all.
and she was very polite about it,
Mhm.
but I just know
I'm
that, like,
speaking. It's my turn
the
now.
men that we are talking about when we say men, we're not happy about it. And
Mm.
that actually made my day a little bit more. Hair flip.
Hair flip. Hey. Hey, girl. Hey.
Yes. So as vice president, she has emerged as a fierce advocate on abortion rights and women's rights in general. Like, she understands as a woman that we deserve and have the right to our bodily autonomy. So
Yeah.
her presidency would see federal legislation on women's bodily autonomy. I believe it. I know that that's what she's going to run on. I know that that's what's going to happen after and it doesn't even fucking matter what happens in Congress and Senate. I bet she does a executive order. That's my bet.
Mm-hmm.
I know that she will enshrine women's bodily autonomy into our federal legislation.
Yeah.
I know it.
Mm-hmm.
As vice president, we've seen the Senate and Congress just split. And they're evenly split between Democrats and Republicans. So she is the one that casts the tie-breaking vote every single time. And in doing that, she voted to pass the I can't talk anymore. The Inflation Reduction Act, which is really America's most ambitious effort to tackle climate change. Not just inflation, but earmarks in there tackle climate change. And climate change is real.
It is.
It's real. It is not something that we are making up. Corporations understand that climate change is destroying parts of the Arctic, and they are currently bidding over those trade lines as if we're going to be able to trade through there.
And mining rights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and mining. Oh my Jesus. It is infuriating just to think about. So we're trying to tackle climate change. Kamala Harris was the tie-breaking vote for that Inflation Reduction Act. She also has taken a leading role in trying to reduce gun violence, overseeing the first ever office ever of gun violence prevention. We're not talking about taking anybody's guns away. And as we talked about before the show, I love guns. Mm-hmm. I'm super excited to get my driver's license in the state that I live in now so that I can do what, Rachel? Buy a new gun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and,
I do.
Oh, go on. And as like a staunch constitutionalist.
Yeah.
I believe in the Second Amendment, right? Even though we are liberal leaning, I was like, I do believe that the people should have the guns and they shouldn't. I don't trust a government that only has the guns.
Right.
So
exactly.
Like, yes.
Exactly. My thing is that I just want my children are out of school now, but I have nieces who are in school. Mm-hmm. I don't want to have to fucking worry every single day about them being in school because there is a school shooting pretty much every single day. Mm-hmm. In America.
Yeah.
So she obviously was overseeing the first office of gun violence prevention, which is a good thing. Mm-hmm. Not taking away guns, just preventing gun violence amongst U.S. citizens. Super, super, super important. Mm-hmm. Let's see what else. She is a fierce advocate for the administration for abortion rights. We talked about that after the court's Dobbs decision that overturned Roe versus Wade. I think this was a turning point in who she was as our candidate. Mm-hmm. So we really need to, I mean, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say after this. Like, she is the one who is going to ensure that we as women and men maintain our bodily autonomy. What I don't think that people understand is that Roe versus Wade, the decision is about medical bodily autonomy, mm-hmm. which means should the government be turned over to imagine, gentlemen, that the government is all women. And we decide that, sure, no more abortion. But at birth, we are going to establish a regulation that enforces boys get a vasectomy at birth. The overturning of Roe versus Wade allows the government to do that. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that men realize this. I don't think that They understand that the right to medical privacy is universal. And that's what Roe versus Wade decided. The
Mhm.
right to medical privacy, not the right specifically to an abortion,
Mm-mm.
but the right for us as Americans to have privacy over our own bodies without the interference of the government. So
Absolutely.
I think I think that really sums it up as far as like Momala and
Yeah,
how she is
absolutely.
going to benefit our country. Um, I my takeaway here is that I was really hesitant. You actually yelled at me before this happened and you were like, you have to vote against Trump. And I was like, I don't want to vote. I don't want to
No,
vote at
you
all.
have to.
And then Biden endorsed Kamala. And I was like, not only am I fucking voting, but I'm volunteering to support this campaign. So that's my takeaway. I'm so motivated by this candidate that
Mhm.
I'm ready to give up my spare time for free to support her, as well as whatever pennies I can donate. I'm going to donate. I'm
Mhm.
ready to go. I'm ready to change the direction of this country. And I absolutely think that she is the most qualified of the two to do so.
Mhm. Absolutely.
What are your takeaways, Rach?
Um, my takeaways, I'm going to share a little personal story about my political journey with our audience. Um, I know I can't be the only one that feels this way, but I'm just going to share with everyone to be like, it's okay. It's okay to change your mind. So, I just want to say, so like again, in California where we grew up, it's a blue state, but we grew up in a very, very red area. And so Democrat was a bad word.
Mhm.
And so I had always, I'm a small business owner. I feel like if I have to be in the black financially, then the government should be too. I was always like, this is how I always felt. You do you, but don't tell me what to do. But I'm also not going to tell you what to do. So it's always kind of libertarian leaning. The Tea Party really came in. It was more like you do you. Like if you want an abortion, go have an abortion. If you want a gun, go have a gun. If you don't want a gay marriage, don't have a gay marriage. If you don't want a gun, don't buy a gun. If you don't want an abortion, don't get an abortion. But you cannot infringe on other, if it's not right for you, that's fine, but it's not right for you to infringe on the freedoms of other people just because you do not agree with it. That is really how I've always felt. But I always ended up voting Republican. But it was more McCain Republican, if you can call it that, more of that traditional
Yeah.
Republican, like a you do you, but we're not, Christianity didn't come into it. Like I feel though the Republican Party has really been taken over by like Christian nationalism and things like
Yeah.
that. But when I was a Republican for a great majority of my adult life until
Yeah.
recently. But that's the type of Republican I was, where you're like, we do want small government. We do want these things. However, then comes the 2016 election where it is Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump. And like it was always like Hillary is so awful, blah, blah, blah. But then, it comes out that Trump says, grab him by the pussy, do all this stuff. And I was like, I really struggle to vote for this man. I do not believe I can do it in good conscience. So I don't know anyone else has ever done this. I said, like, I don't want to vote for him, but I'm struggling to vote for Hillary in this moment. Like to vote Democrat, quote unquote, bad word, where we're from.
Right. Right.
And I was really having this crisis of conscience. And so um, I went to everyone that I knew that was very loud and proud for Donald Trump at the time. Again, we didn't know what he would do as president, but people were like very excited and for him. So I was like, okay, convince me. I'm going to sit here being quiet. I'm going to ask some questions, but I'm not here to argue or fight or have like a dogmatic like challenge with you or a debate. I
Right.
have some questions, but I'm going to sit here quietly and I'm going to ask you, please convince me. Why? And I have an open heart and open ears, please. Like I need to be convinced because he's not doing it for me. And I would sit and I would listen and I would take in everyone's opinions. And at that point, I was like, thank you, but I still can't do it.
Yeah.
And then it became, okay, I'm going to vote for Hillary Clinton because I'm voting against Trump. But
Right.
then again, you do your research. I think she's highly qualified for the position. I think she would do a very good job in the office. And then I became like, it was almost this like awakening of like, oh my God, am I going to vote for a Democrat? Am I going to cross over? Is that how I really feel? But also, the 2016 election took a huge toll on my marriage. And I really think that was kind of like the stick that finally broke the camel's back
Oh
in
my
my
God.
marriage. But after he left and he stopped paying spousal support and broke our lease and made me homeless, I got to go on Medicaid so I can still have medication and like healthcare. And
Yeah.
I went and I got to go, and not that I got to get, but I got on food stamps so I
Yeah.
could eat. And I was
Yeah.
so thankful for these governmental programs to help people in their time of need. In my like, and again, I felt so dirty and so guilty for being on these programs
Mhm.
because it was in our minds that these are like people who are on them are just like they're like scamming the system, and you
Yeah.
hear the welfare queens and stuff, and I just had so much shame internalized for myself to go in and pay with my Snap card. But I have always been so thankful that they were there, that I could eat, that I could see a doctor, that I could stay healthy,
Yeah.
that I am a success. I am because I got to have mental health, like in addition to with Medicaid, to get the help that I needed. And so it made me like so thankful for these programs, that they are so important for
Yeah.
the benefit of our society. And so through my divorce, but also through how awful I really truly feel Donald Trump is, that I could not vote for him. Donald Trump is the reason why I'm a Democrat. He is the
How
reason why
about
I
that?
have left the Republican Party. And he's also the reason why Arizona went blue, because I think there's a lot of people like me who are very like these former Republican-esques, but it's like I identify so little with that party now that it's like I am proudly a Democrat now. I can't believe it. Who would have thought? But the fact that internally I had enough wherewithal to say this doesn't make sense anymore, and I can't just put party over my internal things.
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna
have
say
to,
it.
you are going to vote for your heart. And I was like, I am proudly a Democrat and I'm proudly going to vote for Kamala Harris. And I'm proud of those programs. And I'm thankful that they were there. And I will
Yep.
keep voting to have them there because they are important. And I'm
Yeah.
proud that I went through all of it. So, what were
Ugh.
you going to say? Sorry.
I don't know. It just feels like very culty, the
Yeah.
following.
Now it does.
It
1,000%.
feels very I've was watching, I can't remember what it was I was watching, but it was a panel of doctors who were like, we're trying to get MAGA classified as a mental illness because this is very culty. And I don't,
And I couldn't drink the Kool-Aid. And so I left.
I could not understand why people would listen to him and then look me directly in the face and be like, he sounded so presidential. What? Did you hear what I heard? Or is it that you are that susceptible to brainwashing? Like, it is crazy to me. So yeah, and the Christian nationalism really bugs the fuck out of me because, in my opinion, honestly, religion is an opinion. It's what happens in your own brain, not my
Mhm.
brain, not your brain, but whoever has a religion, that's your own brain. And whose religion is right? We don't know because it's an explanation for what happens after death.
Yeah.
So stop. Like, it
And
just doesn't make sense to me. I
yeah.
can't wrap my brain around it.
So you asked me what my takeaways were, and I was like, you guys just, you're allowed to change your mind if that feels what's right for you, and it's okay. And I had a crisis of consciousness, but
Yeah.
I was like, let me tell you. I'm so glad. I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I.
Uh, I have one more takeaway, and this
Mhm.
is specifically for women who are married to men who are staunch MAGA supporters, but you don't feel that way, but you kind of just support them.
Mhm.
You can walk into that booth and you can vote for whoever you want, and
Mhm.
you don't have to tell him who you're voting for.
Mm-mm.
You can vote for, you don't have to tell anybody who you're voting. You can continue putting on the facade that you voted for Trump and that you're his supporter or whatever, but you know what's right. And if you want to vote for what's not, I don't want to say what's right because I don't want it to be set so like polarizing.
Mhm.
But like if you feel like you don't want to vote for him and you want to vote for the first female president who is going to ensure that you continue to have your right to abortion, you continue to have your right to no fault divorce, you continue to have your rights in general and work on this country to continue to be the best country in the world, you absolutely can do that. You don't have to tell fucking nobody. That's my
Absolutely.
takeaway.
Absolutely. Mhm. Your vote is your vote. Hello.
It's yours. You go into that voting booth with absolutely nobody else. It's you and your conscience.
Mhm. Oh, Jackie, I see you shuffling those cards. Are you ready for it? What I feel is going to be an epic spellbounding tarot card
Oh,
pull.
dude, it has been such a crazy week after this announcement. I have been heavily involved in what's going on, and I feel like I am really stepping into my power to use my voice. So I, as far as like this reading, cannot wait to see, because I pulled that card right before we even started recording, and
Yes.
it was like, you have a new path, make your
Yes.
decision. And
Seven
I
of
know,
Cups. Mhm.
right, exactly, 7 of Cups. I know that that has to do with everything that we're talking about, but it also has to do directly with me because I feel like I have to keep using my platform for what I believe in, to keep advocating, to keep talking, to keep using my voice for other women who don't feel empowered to use their voice. So I know that this one's going to be good, and I this black tarot card set has really been speaking to us about a couple of weeks, so I'm excited.
Oh, yes, I'm ready. We are ready.
And a couple have popped out, by the way, since I've
Ooh,
been
okay.
shuffling. So
Bonus.
here we go. All right. Oh, we got a sphere. So, I'm going to have to look that one up. All right. So, the first one is the Two of Wands. Let's see what that means. The Two of Wands, first of all, look at this. It kind of looks like
Ooh.
he's on a path.
Yeah.
Um, but he doesn't kind of, I don't know. It's a mystery where he's going, right?
Mhm.
Two of Wands represents making plans, planning, and discovery of I think the path that you're on, the transformation of vision and ambition into planning and starting to find a way to move forward.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Ring a ding
Uh,
ding.
I know. Very, very topical. All right. The second one. Oh, this is the Queen of Spheres. This is the one I have to look up. So let's see.
Queen
Queen
of
of
Spheres.
Spheres. This is a woman with intricate energy flowing through her. Look at this card,
Oh my
dude. It
goodness.
is crazy. I can't even tell where. Oh, okay. Okay. It's her
Her
face.
face is down there. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see her face. Intricate energy flowing through her head into the darkness above, and she meditates on the sphere approaching her, which is that right there for
Mhm.
visual watchers. Basically, get your life in order, review your finances, make sure all of your important documents are in order, and assess your material life. Basically, the need for stability.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. We're on a path. We're on a path. We don't know where it's going. So let's get our shit together. Honestly, I don't even think this has anything to do with financial stability. I think this has everything to do. We are on a path to
Mm-hmm.
get the first female president elected. We need to get our shit together. We need to make sure that we organize, we get together financially, we motivate each other, we keep communicating, but we got to get together. We got to get this movement, it feels like, together so that we can ensure victory.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Page of Wands that represents excitement and freedom.
Yeah.
I know you're on the brink of like just new creativity, new vision. This is the spirit of discovery. This is the experience. This is the spirit of enthusiasm. This is just like, we are finally able to express ourselves as women, and we are not going to let anything get in our way. So while we don't know where this path is going to lead, we are going to make sure to be organized in ourselves and in our support for Kamala. And it is going to bring so much excitement, so much reward
Mm-hmm.
for all of the work that we are about to do. We have less than 100 days, November 5th. Please make sure that you are registered to vote, because they have been purging the voter rolls. I just recently learned I have been purged, so I have to re-register in my state. But that is the clearest message that I have ever heard from spirit. Well, not ever, but like I keep getting these clear ass messages, and
Mm-hmm.
that is very, very, very clear to me as far as like the work we have ahead of us and what we have to look forward to.
And in the show notes, we are going to put links on how to donate
Yes.
to Kamala Harris's presidential bid fund, and then also how to register to vote if you are not already
Exactly.
registered
Exactly.
already.
And I just have to say that this card popped out. This is the Chariot. The
Okay.
Chariot represents direction, control, and willpower. Sometimes success and victory is the result of willpower. So to achieve and accomplish what we desire, we have to take the reins and harness the chaos, use the facts that we have given you, and just keep moving forward, keep communicating her accomplishments, keep the positivity up, imagine what it's going to be like when she is elected. And I mean, start planning for that inauguration, because it's about to be so slay.
What
You know
whatever will I
Beyonce is
wear?
gonna a coat, because it's gonna be cold
I
in
know.
DC in January. So that's the spellbounding portion. I love when spirit speaks so clearly to us.
Oh, well, Jackie, I think you've said it all. Thank you so much for educating me a little bit more, as well as our audience. And there is more to where that came from. So
Oh, that's right.
stand by. But in the meantime, join us over on our Patreon, where we are going to have our Tradwives 2 conversation. Follow up to our Tradwives episode. So buckle up for that one. It will be good. The cheese may is ripe today.
Oh, the
And
tea needs to be poured.
the tea is poured. But until then, thank you so much for joining us for another informational, fabulous episode of Whiskey Bent and
Spellbound with Black.
Whitefield.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.